Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, April 9th, 2018. It's 6:30 p.m. It's time for the Selectmen meeting. First order of business, as always, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we go any further, the board has an urgent request to have an executive session upon the completion of our regular business. So I'll read this. We're going to convene into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares for ongoing litigation. And the chair does declare. Thank you. Okay, item 2 is acceptance of minutes. We have the minutes of March 26, 2018. Mr. Siganovich.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of March 26th, 2018.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich. Second. Seconded by Mr. Ruda. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. And we have the executive minutes of March 26, 2018. Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we accept, but not release at this time, the executive minutes of March 26, 2018.
Motion by Mr. Joseph. Second. Second by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item 3, under future job vacancies, we have Dan Guyon, our highway superintendent. Come on up, Danny. Floor is yours, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I know that the board as well as the administrator are already aware, but I do want to publicly announce that I will be retiring this fall. As you know, I'm not only the highway superintendent, but I'm also the tree warden. I also oversee the buildings and grounds department as well as the recycling center. October 11th will be my last day of service. And that'll complete, that's actually my anniversary date, and that'll complete 39 years of service to the town of Dudley. Most of those years, if not all of them, have been great years. I can't really think of a bad one, with maybe the exception of the very first one. And I laugh now when I think back about it, because prior to getting named to the highway department, I was laid off from the old Anglo Fabrics mill in Webster. And I was collecting unemployment for probably about 8 weeks, so it wasn't that long. And when I got my first check from the town, I opened it up, and my take-home pay was less than what I was collecting. So I was disappointed, I was mad. I said, I'm not keeping this job. And my father, who was retired from the police department, said, hey, he says, working for the town is a good job. He said, they got some good benefits. He says, you got to give it some time. He says, the pay will get better. But I was 21 years old. I didn't really care about the benefits. I wanted the cash. So, you know, we got into a pretty good argument there. One of the few arguments I've ever gotten into with my father. And grudgingly, I says, well, I'll give it some more time, so we'll see what happens. I said, but I'm telling you, I'm not keeping the job. And, you know, here I am 39 years later, and I'm glad that I did. It's been a great experience. Also, retiring by the fall, it gives me a chance to finish up some road construction projects that we started last year. We didn't quite finish. I got a few smaller jobs I want to do this year, too, to more or less clean my slate and go on from there. But I know it's still 6 months away, but I want to give everyone enough notice, depending on which direction the board wants to go. It certainly will come back up when the time gets a little closer. There's a few people I want to recognize and thank who I've dealt with over the years. But for tonight, just want to give enough notice and make it a public announcement that I will retire this year.
October 11th.
October 11th.
Thanks for letting us know. I know that's a tough thing to say no matter what, you know, but I appreciate you coming up. I mean, board members.
Yeah, Mr.
Stephen?
Chair, it's no secret how I feel about all our town employees, and especially Danny. I've known Danny longer than I've been a selectman, and I'll know Danny longer after I'm no longer a selectman, I hope. You know, everyone's got different perceptions of different people. I know there's people out there that probably, every time I talk, turn the TV down. Danny's been a great steward for the town. He goes above and beyond. Several years ago, I think I was kind of the one that broached this subject of DPW excluding water and sewer, and we pretty much threw everything on Danny, including the beaches. He supervises the building and grounds who does the beaches. and Danny took it and ran with it, and in my opinion, did a great job. You know, he treats every nickel down the highway department like it's his own. There's no frivolous spending down there. There's no things that come out, you know, there's no receipts that are questioned. I mean, you can't ask for a better steward for the highway department, for the town, and he's gonna be sorely missed. He's leaving some big shoes to fill, and leaving us a big shoe to fill. We're gonna have to be the ones with the administrator. But, like I said, I can't say enough about what Mr. Guyan has meant to the town, and my friendship with Danny is one that I always hold very close and dear.
Hey, Steve? Jay?
Well, one thing since 2010, since I've become a selectman, I've come to understand how much the highway department has been able to accomplish and do with very little budget. And every year, it seems as though it gets tightened a little bit more, but we still get the same, if not better, work product every single time. And I think that's a testament to your leadership. I appreciate your service.
I want to piggyback a little on what Mr. Sullivan said. It never ceased to amaze me how you were able to do what you did with how little you were given. I mean, you're fabricating things instead of buying them, fixing things. I'm still amazed by what you were able to do. And like it's been said before, there are big shoes to fill. Big shoes.
Thanks, Gary. Mr. Joseph?
Yeah. My guess is that with your announcement tonight, there are probably a handful at best, of malcontents in this town who have been out to get you. A vendetta. Very few people, very few. One of them, by the way, is an elected town official in Dudley. I have to tell you that I could not disagree with those malcontents anymore. Not possible. People who know what you've done, despite an increase in the mileage of roads, year after year after year, with the lack of staff and the lack of funding that you've had, is nothing short of amazing. It's a compliment to you, to your upbringing. I, for one, am very grateful for all you've done, which has not always been pleasant, and for your turning the other cheek when people take shots at you. I think you've been a phenomenal employee, a joy to work with, and I guess 39 years is long enough. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, and Danny, I'll close with, since I've been on the board, you know, I got to know you. I mean, just like I said, more with less. We're a broken record when we say that about you. But just all the other stuff, like when I would text you at night when a resident is upset about something or needs to be done, and it just always got done. Like what Mr. Joseph said, there's always gonna be people who are gonna be how they are, but just all that other stuff, what you did for the Little League and the Cub Scouts and, you know, cutting branches when, you know, extra stuff you worked into the schedule, I won't ever forget that because you cared about your town. You really cared about your town, and it is a pleasure always, and I'll know you a long time, Danny. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know,
I expect you to do your job for the next
Oh,
6
I will.
months.
I certainly will. But I've known a long time ago, when you work for the public, you're not going to make everyone happy. And like Mr. Joseph said, there's a handful, maybe 2 handfuls of people who always had an issue with me. But, you know, I never considered the job a popularity contest. Everything I've done, I've always done keeping the best interest in the town in mind, and I'll certainly do that all the way till October. But thank you very much for those kind words.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
Greg, anything?
Just to say, anyone who's been here since 1979,
1979, yep.
my hat is off to. That was well before even I considered a career in municipal government, Dan, and I can't tell you, as someone who's worked in this field a long time, but not as long as you, how difficult it must be, and how appreciative I am and my predecessors for the job that you've done. And echoing the sentiments of my board members, no one does more with less than you. You got a ball of string and some scotch tape and a welding torch, and you're able to perform miracles with next to nothing. So my appreciation and respect to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn.
Danny? Okay, Section 4, appointments and resignations. We have our Veteran Service Officer here today. Steve Rogerson, come on up, Steve. He's up for reappointment with a term to expire April 30th, 2019. Greg, you want to set us up?
Steve is, as you know, Steve was in to see us a few weeks ago on his budget. He's done a great job in administering the Veterans Department. There's been a tremendous demand for his services. He's adhered to the law, treated everyone well with respect. He's been diligent in terms of performing his responsibilities, and I would enthusiastically recommend that the board consider his reappointment.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda.
I'll move to reappoint Stephen Rogerson to be our Veteran Service Officer with a term to expire of April 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Siganovich. Discussion?
Yep.
Mr. Joseph?
I didn't think when Rich Hulever left that we would ever find anybody who took the providing of services to veterans to heart as much as Rich did. And goes to show you I was wrong. Steve does that. And I also want to announce tonight that they do such an important job with the Backpack Brigade. We've learned that with many of the veterans. In the past, I don't accept my stipend. I sign it over as a selectman, and I've signed it over to the Parks and Recreation Committee. This year, I talked with Greg, and he's advised me, how it can be done. This year, I'm going to donate, I'm not going to take my stipend as selectman. I'm going to give it to the Veterans Office specifically for the salary account to help offset what you folks need to get up to the hours that you need to provide the services for people. So it's not about me, it's about the veterans, and that's what you're all about, and I could not be happier. I'm more proud.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Carey, anything?
No, I remember I met you, Steve, when I was running for selectman, and we had a number of good conversations. You're definitely the man for the job, in my opinion. That's why I seconded the motion as quickly as I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Mr. Chair, I want to say again, we could say it to every department probably, but no more than we can to Steve. Just follow along. The hours that he's budgeted, the hours that are posted, nowhere near the hours that he puts in, the hours that he works. And I second what Mr. Joseph said. We had a level of commitment for years and years with our veterans agent. Rich Hulever was top-notch, Bobby Rock, all the way back. And Steve has taken that and gone even further. I mean, the stuff they have to, when I talk to them, the training that they have to go through, the things that are online now that you have to know, it's amazing. It really is.
Well said.
It's another area we have to address.
Yeah, Steve, just getting to know you over the last couple of years has been great, and just the dedication, I always knew it would be there, but just the amount of what Steve just said, the amount of stuff you need to know, and you've told me, and just all the data, a lot of people might not appreciate that. So to have somebody who really cares about his community and his veterans is, you are the guy for this, and I wholeheartedly support this.
I appreciate the kind words, I do, but without the support from the selectmen and from the other employees of the town, this wouldn't have happened. When I first started, I told Rich, I'm going to try to really meet the standard to which he had set, but some things I've gone a little bit differently, especially with the homeless issue, that he never really touched base with too much. He just referred them to Veterans Inc. An addiction issue, I had some experience with that, so I kind of pushed in that direction as well. But I appreciate the kind words and the support, especially for Greg. Greg, since I started, has been very supportive of veterans. He really is a good advocate as well, to make sure veterans get the proper support. And of course, the selectmen have been wonderful. Everybody here in the town is wonderful, to be honest with you. And the community here is very supportive of veterans. A lot of support I receive. You know, when I first came here, I didn't realize a lot of people watched these videos. But I got a lot of letters, a lot of emails, communication from veterans that Rich had helped, and myself over the last year and a half. And some of the veterans had passed, and they remembered. So I think it's really beneficial things we do for the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask who made
Greg?
the first motion? Who made the motion?
Jonathan.
Ms. Jonathan and Carrie seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
Thanks, Steve. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Item 5, public comments. Does anybody here like to talk about something that's not on tonight's agenda?
Looks pretty thin tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars out in the parking lot. I thought for sure we'd have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how about them socks?
about them socks.
Okay, that's all.
There we go. All right, nothing there. Greg, Town Administrator's report?
Yeah, I'll have some things to bring up under item 10C, but just to apprise the board that the fire station project is ready to go out to bid. I put in the packet a copy of the bid advertisement, which hits on some of the key dates that are coming up, and you might want to find that and just take a quick look at it. You know, if you can come up too, but I'll just go through the dates. So the sub-bids are due on May 2nd. General bids will be due on May 16th. So those are the dates that we're going forward with. And Dean?
April 19th is the pre-bid meeting. That's at the fire station. And they were saying hopefully June 15th for groundbreaking.
What time,
Keep our fingers crossed for that.
what time, and is that meeting open to the public?
Pre-bid meeting would not be open to the public, Paul.
Okay,
It's not a posted meeting.
okay, let's let people know that, okay.
Right. And
Good-
hopefully
good
the
call.
frost is out of the ground for the groundbreaking.
It's supposed to be 78 on Saturday, I'm hearing.
Is it?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right?
They did do the water test, the water department did the flow test too on Friday. I submitted those numbers to the architect for, because they're trying to do the engineering for the sprinkler system, so that should be all set now.
That's all I have. Thank you, John.
Great. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Greg. We have no around town section tonight. We do have a couple of licenses and permits. Nichols College is here, looking for our outdoor entertainment license.
Mr. Chair, although
Mr. Sullivan?
I am currently not using my skills, I'm still technically an employee of the establishment, so
Okay.
I'm going to step out for the next
Let the record show that Mr. Sullivan stepped away at 6:53.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda?
I'll move that the board approve a outdoor entertainment license from Nichols College for May 10th, 2018, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the Copper Beach Quad for Employee Appreciation Day.
Motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Joseph. Discussion?
Employee Appreciation Day.
Hearing none,
They're
all in
making a
favor?
day of it this year. Usually it's just a lunch in the dining hall, so we're trying something new.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's an aye. Call for vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, one abstention, Greg. And then the second one?
I never thought I'd hear you cut me
Mr.
short,
Chairman?
Mr. Joseph.
I'll make a motion that we...
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the outdoor entertainment license for St. Andrew Babola Church.
I'll take it.
This appears to be for their annual traditional festival, church festival, Friday, August 25th, from 2018, from 4:30 to 10 p.m., and Saturday, August 26th, 2018, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any discussion? Carrie?
Discussion, the dates. It says the 24th and 25th. I believe Mr. Ruda said 25th and 26th. I just want
Oh.
to make sure we dot our i's, cross our t's.
Scribners?
So it's Friday, August 24th, And Saturday, August 25th, because it says 25, 26.
Per Nancy's email, yes.
Which one is it?
I was going by the email. Let me look at my handy dandy
Yeah, Look
calendar.
at your, yeah.
I could be wrong.
I just want to be sure.
Occasionally happens.
August?
25th is Saturday, 26th is Sunday, so Mr. Ruda was correct.
So we are going to stand at 25, 26?
Before we go too far down the pike, under public business, under section A, they're asking for permission to use the municipal complex's parking lot on the 24th from 4:30 to 10.
Wait, you said the 24th
So-
was a Friday, wasn't it?
So is the 24th a Friday or?
24th is a Friday, 25th is Saturday, 26th is Sunday.
All right.
So we gotta change the dates. of
So
your
why
motion.
don't I amend my motion? Stand by.
Okay,
So you're going to amend it to 24th and 25th?
Correct.
Who made the second? I did?
yes,
That's okay with me.
okay. Okay. We have to re-vote on that motion? Or,
Yes.
okay, any other discussion on the changes
As amended?
as amended? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 401. Abstention, Craig? Okay.
Could I ask the chief, Chief Warner, do you meet with them and go over expectations in terms of serving of alcohol during a 10-hour period? How does that work in terms of alcohol? Because it does bring in a lot of people who are non-residents. How do you do that?
Well, we don't really supervise them as far as their sales or anything go, but we make sure that they have police officers on site and that everything is, going according to plan as before, any other place that we normally do these things, so if there's
Okay.
something specific you want me to look over with them, that'd be fine.
Okay.
How they've been locating their bar on the inside. They used to have it outside under the tent. They've been putting it inside the church now. Whether they're gonna do that again, I don't know, but I'll have a discussion with them as we go over the planning.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I was curious.
All right. So as we're signing licenses, we'll keep going.
I think Sully can come back, right?
He can.
Permission to use the parking lot, you need to do that one?
No, not on the parking lot.
All right, one more. We have no public hearings.
You guys are on a roll.
All right, we're on a roll. All right, under 10, public business. St. Andrew Bible Church, in addition to needing the outdoor entertainment license, they're also asking for permission to use Dudley Municipal Complex's parking lot on Friday, August 24th, 2018, from 4:30 PM to 10 PM, and Saturday, August 25th, 2018, from 11 AM to 10 PM, for additional parking during their annual church
So
festival.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Ruda.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 401 abstention. And let the record show that Mr. Sullivan returned at 6:57.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda.
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the request of the Board of Health to hold Earth Day on Saturday, April 28th, 2018, from 8 AM to 12 PM at the Highway Garage on Indian Road.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich.
Question?
Discussion, Mr. Joseph?
Fire Chief, Dean, do we still participate in any way, shape, or form with a recycling day at that time?
No, we don't do that one. What we had been doing the last time, I've mentioned this a couple times before, is we put $5,000 into a hazardous waste day fund gift account. And what we were doing is the Dudley residents went to Sutton NEDT, which is the disposal facility. They'd have to take the things there, but they would get to do it for free until the $5,000 was expended. That way you're not spending money to put people at the highway department. You're spending all the money on the disposal. They just have to drive it there, but I have not, that line has not been funded since we did it the last time. It's got like $106 in it or something.
All right, so could you speculate as to whether or not we will do a hazardous waste day this year? And if so, when might you schedule that for?
I'm actually looking for funding for that through a donation through one of the local companies. And if we did, it would probably be late summer, early fall.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Danny, will you have someone down there that day, on Earth Day?
Mr. Chairman, no, we don't usually. Usually the Board of Health runs everything.
Okay, we
I'll
don't-
stop in myself to make sure
Alright.
things,
Alright.
going okay, but they usually have somebody watch
Okay.
everything down there.
Do they use the main parking lot, or they go right into the recycle center?
No, I stay out of the recycle center.
All right,
Come
that was
in
my
through the-
question. I didn't know how far down they
Yeah,
went.
they come right in through the main gate for the highway department.
Use the lot?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair, I think the fire chief brings up an excellent point, Mr. Joseph, too. Maybe we should, if the donation doesn't come through, that doesn't seem an unreasonable amount, we should try to refund that line item. I mean, worked out well through the last couple, when we did it, that people,
Yeah.
it's only Millbury.
Yeah.
I mean, people drove up there, Millbury, Sutton, ran
Sutton.
the
I
line.
I went up.
I
yeah.
mean, there's a sense of pride
I
involved
just,
with that kind of effort.
I thought it worked out better that way, taking it to Sutton. I know you have to go there, but that facility's all set up for it. I had it all worked out with the people that ran the place. And like I said, you're not paying, none of the money's going to pay somebody to be at the highway, which you had to do before. So I think this is better, because 100% of the money goes to the disposal. And the facility's all set up to take anything and everything. So it really worked out well. But I really do got some feelers out there for a couple of the local companies that are in town, and I might be able to fund it that way.
Right. If we can't get the full 5,000, we should somehow make up the difference somehow, some way.
Add to the
We'll
list,
figure it out.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Dean. I think we have a motion on this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. And item 10C, Greg, the FY19 budget and warrant.
Hi. So a couple things. I guess the first thing is the annual town meeting warrant. So the annual town meeting warrant is a work in progress. The warrant closes this Friday, and we'll have it reviewed by council as of that date. So articles can be submitted until this Friday, so it's by no means done. However, as I've said every year, the purpose of town meeting will primarily be to vote the budget. It doesn't look like we will have a heck of a lot of money available to fund other things, other than some interdepartmental transfers and some housekeeping, and that doesn't change because the amount of money that we raise to run municipal operations remains low, despite the fact that the override was approved by voters. So
Right.
that's just a heads up. At your next meeting, I will have a final version of the warrant for you to review. If when you're looking through it, you see anything that doesn't look right, just let me know. But keep in mind, it's not final at this point, it's just being looked on still. Which brings us to the bigger issue, which is the budget. So the budget that I'm giving you tonight is a balanced budget, which means that the revenues are sufficient to cover all of the expenses that are shown here. The budget is level services across the board with no new positions. And the funding is for fixed costs, including increase in the town's debt service, group insurance, and pensions, and then contractual obligations, which is a priority of the administration. Just to illustrate a point, I went back and I looked at what we call employee benefit costs, debt costs, which are things that I call below the waterline. There aren't things that you really see out there that translate to services. And just the increase in pensions, group insurance, which is town's health insurance, is $124,000. So that's a number that the public doesn't really see, but it's a number that we're obligated to pay. And there's also some additional non-exempt debt that we picked up because we do have some projects that were previously voted at town meetings. So you add those numbers together, and it's almost $125,000 that we will be paying before we look at other budgets.
Question,
Paul?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead, Paul.
A few years back, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
We met with some resistance, but we did require the town to go out to bids on some of our insurance. And you know, the general feeling was we were happy with who we had, but we wanted to see if we could save money. And as I recall, much to our surprise and based on our claims records, we had bids that came in well below what we were paying. So I guess my question is, rather than acknowledge that there's X 100,000 plus of additional funding for insurances and coverage, is it appropriate for us to solicit some bids and see if we can't get that down
Yeah,
like we did a few years ago?
I think that's something we can work toward. So when we sign up, we're with a company called Trident Insurance.
Right.
And we have a 2-year contract with them, so this is the second of 2 years that we're entering into. And I've said that rather than upset the apple cart right now, we look a year from now to package together our bid and put it all at once. But if the board feels as though it's important to do it now, we can go ahead and do that. If that's what your pleasure is.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask for clarification? You said we have, Greg, we have a 2-year contract?
2-year contract,
With a 3-year?
2-year.
2-year. And is this, right now, the current fiscal year, the first or second year of that contract?
Yeah, so this is the first year that's ending right now. The second year will be next year.
Okay. So did we change general insurers?
No. No, we did not.
Could you refresh our memory, certainly mine, as to how Trident came to be? Is this an extension of an existing contract with
Yeah,
them?
it was.
Okay, never mind.
It's
That
exactly,
makes
so we
sense.
didn't put it out to bid secretly and award them a
Okay.
contract. They're the ones who had it, and to give us the most advantage for rate setting, they gave us a 2-year rate proposal.
Yeah.
And it's up, I mean, we could change, Paul, if you want, but it does take some work to kind of get that
Okay.
piece done. It's not just a question of going out and saying we want to do insurance. The town has a number of different lines of insurance that we carry.
Okay, so if I can, at least go on record, Mr. Chairman, as suggesting that rather than wait and be faced with a contract extension with the existing carrier, that we would, during the coming fiscal year, review our specs and get RFPs out and see what the figures are that come in, well before we get backed into a corner, that's all.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Greg?
Oh, yeah, I just want to finish my, my speech here for a second on the
Okay,
budget, because I
sure.
want to give people an idea of how we did it. So on the municipal side, total revenues for the town are up about $473,657. All of the numbers I'm talking about don't reflect the override. That's money that's targeted toward the schools. That's where it goes. There's no included of that money on the town side of the budget. So $473,657, which is our increase under Prop 2.5, new growth, local receipts, and state aid. So those four numbers together increase growth of about $473,000. So we also have $214,901 in free cash that was held at annual town meeting, not knowing what this year's budget was going to be. And the reason why I'm comfortable in using it toward the budget is we're using free cash that has been specifically reserved for the budget for this year. We're uncertain in terms of what was going to happen with the override. We wisely put aside money to be able to fund the budget, and so we would be using that. So the overall municipal department budget increase is 2.9%, or $231,852. And keep in mind, that doesn't include the debt numbers that I just relayed to you, nor does it include changes in what's called exempt debt, which is towns' budgets, money that gets voted specifically to pay down debt service, such as the fire station and things like that. So that's not included in there. Because if you include those numbers in the town's overall budget increase, the increase is much larger. And that really presents an unfair portrayal in terms of what our budget growth is. So I just want to be clear on that. There are several programs that we will need to take a look at totaling $153,000. So when I go through the budget, typically, what I like to do is rank priorities, and there were a number of high priority items in the Highway Department, Police, Veterans, Legal, and Treasurer's Department totaling $153,000. And we just don't have the money to be able to fund them at this time. However, as we've done in the past, we'd like to defer some of these expenses for consideration at the fall town meeting, when we'll take another look at our recurring revenue, and generally we have funds available to setting the tax rate in the fall. I don't like to be too bold in terms of projecting too far ahead in terms of what our revenue growth will be, but as we work our way into the fall, we have the advantage of seeing what our revenue numbers are for this fiscal year, which closes on June 30th, and we can make a more reasonable extrapolation of how those numbers apply toward next year's budget.
Have you met, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Jay.
Greg, have you met with the department heads?
Not everyone at this time, and we will be doing that. We're just kind of under the gun over the last few days with trying to get this budget done in view of the override. And it was mostly done, but I didn't want to make a presentation on it until the override.
Okay.
And then just lastly, Mr. Rogerson, the veterans agent, had been in, and he had requested additional services as they relate to veterans, and he indicated that 75% of the benefits are reimbursable through the Commonwealth, and they are. So those are the Chapter 115 benefits. Presently, the position, I see us adding a total of 14 hours per week in that office. So I think that that's important that we make that commitment and we do it as part of our budget. And then lastly, I just want to thank Debbie Thibodeau, who is the town accountant. Debbie is really helpful in terms of getting the budget put together, and I appreciate her time and services. So that's it. Give you a chance to go through and digest some of the pages that are here. The second page kind of shows you the total amount of money that we had. And when we looked at all of the municipal budgets, we had a $367,000 shortfall. And I mentioned to you those $152,000 in items, or $153,000 in items that we wanted to defer for fall town meeting. That brought us down to $214,000. And then we utilized the free cash to close that gap. And in simple terms, that's what gets us to the balanced budget. On the third page, you'll see a listing of items that comprise what I consider to be high priorities going into the fall town meeting. You'll see them all listed out there. The next page is kind of the key document that wraps up all of our revenues. As I mentioned to you, the amount of money that's available to us under Proposition 2.5 and what our total expenditures are. And then the other is just the budget details that I will engage you in once you've had an opportunity to review.
Thank you, Greg. Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, as he often does, Greg can read my mind. He already answered the question I was going to ask, and that was what % of that $92,000 for vets is reimbursable, and no sense in asking it. He already answered it.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions for Greg? Any comments?
Greg, what's the mechanism for creating a revolving account? Is that something that can be done at
Town meeting.
fall or spring?
Either.
Does it have to appear on the warrant?
Yeah, so what we do is we have a warrant article that itemizes or lists out all of our revolving accounts, and then it lists out what the purpose of it is and how much money we can set aside for that purpose. And they have to be reauthorized annually, so yeah, it takes a town meeting vote.
Can we start thinking in terms as a board of what we're going to do with the solar money when it
Yeah.
comes in? My initial thought was that we take that money that does not come off the tax base and we use it to a large degree to fill the gap between the foundation level and the catch-up amount on an annual basis. And we do what we can to keep future overrides at bay, using found money. How long is that contract for?
20 years.
So it's a 20-year contract with if we set up a revolving account, does not come off the tax base, gives us $160,000 extra to help fill the gap as opposed
For
to.
unfunded mandates.
For the unfunded mandates that come along with the Chapter 70.
Right.
So Jonathan, just to be clear, this would be the lease, not necessarily the pilot payments. This would be the lease agreement for the landfill.
For 160, okay.
Makes sense. We don't have,
You know, along those lines, JJ, I would very much like to see us have an open meeting with a single agenda item. And that is philosophically, how do we want to look at projected revenue for the future? And how do we want to, where do we want to put that money in anticipation of what may be some lean years down the road? I'd love to do that and have just a philosophical discussion that we can then turn into something practical and tangible.
Mr. Chair, I like what Jonathan brought up. That's what kind of we had talked about when Greg brought the proposal at the last meeting. I'd asked at that time, was there a way we could divert that money not to get in? He had the right terminology with the revolving fund. I like Paul's suggestion too, but it'd be very nice if we could find a way, found money, anything, any way you want to phrase it, revolving account, lean years, that we could utilize that money where we see fit, not so much where 51 out of 100 voters can dictate.
Right. Yep.
Fair enough.
Premise being that if it, we always maintain 2.5% increase or less, because that's what we can raise in revenue.
Right.
So when we are faced with increases that we can't, that create annually a structural deficit, that's the fund we go to. We can always say no to borrowing money, when we don't have it, but we can never say no to the unfunded mandate. So that might be something to look at.
I would like to get, as part of this whole discussion, I would very much like to get an update from the town treasurer and the administrator about current and foreseeable, immediate foreseeable tax title properties. Location, value, what their status is, because I think that comes into our planning process.
Talked about that in a while.
Right.
Probably a refreshed list.
Yeah.
I'm glad, Paul, you must have read my mind on that one. because
Oh.
We're working on that list as we speak. So I've got it, I've got a version that I can show you when we stop into the office later, but I'll be prepared to provide that to the board at its next meeting.
Here we go, he does it again.
Found money.
And what does stabilization look like
Yeah, that was a
after
good
this
question.
budget passes?
So we won't put any money into the stabilization fund. It's about $225,000 is what we would have in the stabilization account,
225.
which is down, if you look at what it was in its heyday, about a year ago, it was up around $500,000. But the good news is, there's no drawdown on it. And last year, we used the stabilization fund to balance the budget.
Okay, we got some tough decisions. How much of the piggy, do we want to take out of the piggy bank, and how much do we want to cut or defer? We got to come up with that before
Right.
our vote on the budget.
Right, and it's important that we keep explaining, why, because people think, oh, we just had this override pass, why isn't there more, right? We've always had this issue, right? So,
Well, we didn't pass the override
Oh.
so that we get more revenue. We passed it to protect what we had.
right, exactly. I know,
So
but
anybody who's asking that question needs to be explained that
that's why I said, let's just keep saying it over and over.
it wasn't a
and
money
over.
grab, it
No.
was protecting what
This was,
we had.
right, exactly.
Exactly.
Right. So I just thought it was worth talking about.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, you're welcome. What else? Any other discussion on this, or the warrant that, Greg, any drafts?
Mr. Chair, as part of Greg's presentation at the next meeting, to go along with what Mr. Ruda just said, Greg can compile the figures and we can talk about the makeup provision, what the amount is. I mean, we mention it all the time, but
Yeah.
maybe a little, quick little presentation of the makeup provision, the extra money that we have to kick in every year to the schools, that's mandated by the states. People don't get to understand, that comes right off the top of anything, before we even go to 2.5%.
Could you even imagine the discussion we'd be having if it went the other way?
Well, wouldn't be much of a discussion, it'd be a bloodbath.
Anything else for Greg, guys? Greg, great job. Debbie, thank you for helping Greg with that. This is good. It's always a tough time when we talk
We
budgets.
did have a second version of the budget, which thankfully doesn't need to be presented.
I don't want to even look at it. I don't want to even know. All right, well, thank you guys for that. Jared isn't here tonight, so we'll move on.
We could do it for him, Mr. Chair. The weather was lousy, the season started late, they're out there playing now, and they're gonna squeeze a bunch of games into the next month.
They are, baseball hasn't, they haven't.
Report
started
cards came
yet.
out, and I'm sure Jared did well.
Yes, they did. Awesome. Thank you for standing in for Jared. All
I
right.
just can't sing like him.
No, you cannot. You cannot. Board member comments? Paul, anything?
No, sir.
Gary?
I've got nothing.
Jay?
Good.
Steve?
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the people that came out to vote, whether you supported it or you voted against it. I'm just glad that I didn't run the exact numbers, I think it came in somewhere around 12%, does that sound right? 15%, something like that?
1,200 and something votes.
Out of 6,600?
Out of 71, I
Oh,
think.
that's 71, so it's even a little less than I thought.
Yeah.
Like I said, whether you support it or not, the ones that did come and vote, and the schools have a big obligation now. They have a big burden. They got stewards of the future of the town with the education, and they've gotten the financial resources that they looked for. Both sides of the budget obviously supported it, and it's going to be closely watched. You know, I know there are people that call us the override board because we've let override votes go forward, but my answer always is, if it was up to 5 of us to decide and 3 people liked it, you're stuck with it. So the 1,200 on our side, and what was over there, like 1,900 or 2,000 roughly.
And Charlton, yep.
Just thank them all for coming in.
Yep. Yep. No, we've always, to that point, let people decide. I don't think it's, let them do that on that one anyway, right?
One man, one vote.
Right. So, okay, anything else? All right. Departments. Danny, anything?
Yeah, just one quick thing, Mr. Chairman. We're trying to get the street sweeper out there with some consistency, but it's been kind of tough with the weather.
I heard it this
just want to
morning,
remind the
actually.
residents, as I do every year, that, when they sweep off their lawns, don't make piles of sand in the gutter, spread that sand out, because we have a vacuum-type nozzle on the sweeper, and we don't want to go bulldozing through piles. You can bend something and have the machine shut down. Also, please don't rake any kind of sticks out in the gutter as well. Same thing if you have a vacuum type, and the sticks will get stuck in a nozzle, and you have to take the thing apart and shut the machine down. And if you remember that, it'll be a big help.
So, we don't do stick pickups.
No.
So if there's a bunch of sticks in the way, the sweeper will just go around them, is that correct?
If it's not too bad of a situation, more or less, yes, but the driver takes a lot of pride in trying to keep the streets clean, so sometimes he'll get out and pick them up himself, but he just has to put them off and back
I
onto
just
the
want to make
lawn.
sure people know
I
that.
actually witnessed that today. That's exactly what happened. I heard
Really?
it, looked out the window, yep.
Danny,
Made another pass.
Do we, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
do we have a point person? I don't know if it would be you, or the police chief, or a combo, about all the nice new signs we got up on 31? Where there's some, and I know it's not you guys, I don't think you guys did the signs, that was a state thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk
So-
about that.
We're getting a little bit of, we're getting a little bit of input on some of the misspellings
Yeah, they
and
renamed some
doubles
roads
and
for us.
triples and,
I really haven't noticed any misspellings. I haven't been up there that much. I kind of wish they would have used double-sided signs instead of the
Right.
single-sided signs. And I know they're supposed to take down some of the older signs. I know there was a question about the speed limit signs. One says 35, one says 40.
Yeah, like 20 feet
The
from.
35 one is ours, and I talked to the DOT man last week, and when they're all done, they're supposed to pull our signs out. And we'll
Okay.
pick 'em up
Oh,
or
they're
they're
still
gonna drop
working
'em
on it?
off.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
LED stop signs are pretty cool.
Yeah.
yeah, if you rule through that, there's an issue.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
did drop off a bunch of replacement batteries at the garage for us to use. I don't know how long those batteries actually last, but,
Well, they're solar powered, right?
yeah, and there's batteries though, but they gave us some additional batteries
They're really a great
as
idea.
well.
Yes, the Mill Lane, I
Yeah, we-
texted you about that one, right?
Yeah, that sign, I would, that sign might have been put back up today. I don't know, the proper
And-
sign.
And then Healy Road was misspelled, I guess, at some
I'll
point.
have to take a look at that.
I got that request.
I didn't notice that one. I haven't
Yeah,
been up there.
somebody
but-
mentioned that. I didn't think I ever noticed, but.
Is there somebody up there that's
Yeah.
gonna just kinda take a look at what needs to be fixed and make sure
Yeah, yeah.
it's because it's great that we got signs, but then it looks,
Yep.
if they're not
Yeah.
right, then it becomes another thing.
Yep, I'll track him down tomorrow or sometime this week and find out what they can do.
Yeah, the radio station and the Lake 940 came at me the other night, and he was good about it. Oh, so this, let me post it so you can blame it on the state, not the town. I said, well, it is. I had just talked to you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we had nothing to do with that,
No,
you know.
right.
That Mill Lane one really caused a stir. There was people.
Oh, there's like 5 people.
I know my supervisor came out at the post office because somebody called and
Yeah.
said, how much time do they have to change their name or their road? And I said, I don't think there's any change.
I don't know.
Let me look into it.
Yeah, check
uh,
on Healy too.
I'll follow
Danny,
up with
too.
that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Dean? Nothing? Steve? Nothing? What's up?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph?
I'm going to move that we convene into executive session, not to return to public session, and we do so under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with regard to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on our bargaining or litigation position.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Roll call vote, please.
Paul Joseph, aye.
Terry Sigenovich, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
John Ruda, aye.
Steve Sullivan, aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.